basic. Why don't we do a quick overview of like what you guys actually do? I can't believe we waited so long. But let's start. We'll start with Michael because you just finished talking. Just give like what's your sort of projects in AI right now, and what are you using it for?
So I one of the first members of the server of the Discord, I should say, and I started doing the reinforcement learning, and about a month I quickly got frustrated because I personally didn't have the compute powers to be doing what I wanted to do, and so like that database I said that I created, that took 3 weeks to create, of just constantly parsing the replays and saving it to JSON files. So these days right now, I've kind of taken a step back from the reinforcement learning aspect of the community, and I'm making a scripted Python API interface. So this will allow, so the Pi StarCraft 2 interface allows programs to interact with StarCraft 2 as a way a human would by seeing the feature layers and whatnot. Whereas this API interacts with the protocol directly, much like the C++ API. So it gives you a more programmatic interface to the game, so people can create scripted bots more easily in Python.
All right. So you have projects sort of outside of StarCraft and like with Innovation DX.
Yes.
Right? And you use AI in that regards as well.
Yeah.
Can you sort of like extrapolate a little bit what Innovation DX works and like how does that tie into your work with StarCraft?
Yeah, so I've been dealing with AI, machine learning, whatever buzzword you want to use, since early 2012. And from there, I was doing biomedical image analysis in a university lab. And then we basically found this way to diagnose leukemia from a cell culture. And long story short, no one could get into a hospital. So I decided to make a company out of it. And now we're going through FDA with a lung cancer detector. And basically, so the machine learning aspect of it is we combine genetic algorithms with deep learning. So that we use genetic algorithms to generate deep learning models, which then we then train to diagnose lung cancer. And then,
That's lit. And the stuff that you do with StarCraft has,
it's using literally the exact same technology.
Oh, that's amazing. So Cannon Rushing can save lives.
Yep, Cannon Rushing can save lives, boys.
I want to make sure we add that as like a tagline.
That's it. Cancer in one situation, less cancer in the other situation.
Yep, that's it. We can
same thing.
Save lives. And I think that really speaks to the amazingness of what we can develop and what we can come away with a lot of the projects that happen here, that they have outside effects, outside of just bots beating each other. Even though I actually want to see a bot beat a person eventually, but there's much bigger pictures involved. So why don't we go down my little list? Martin, why don't you give us a little update on you and who and what you do?
So at the moment, I'm working on the Ladder Manager, which is the software that we use to play bots against each other on the SE2AI ladder. So essentially, at first, when we first started it, had a really bad interface and got everyone to run DLL bots, which is similar to the way BWAPI worked. We can now run exe files, so you can basically submit a bot in pretty much any language, any kind of scripting you want. There might not be like the API there for it at the moment, but we're working towards, we've got C#, Python, C++ supported now. So we're working on other languages as well. There's been talk of JavaScript bots. I don't know how that's coming along at the moment, but it will hopefully be there soon. For anyone sadistic enough to use JavaScript.
I'm gonna make them in BASIC.
Go for it. Seriously, if you can do it BASIC, brilliant. So yeah, I'm working on improving that a lot. Obviously, I'm working on a new bot as well, because my original Grip bot, I'm going to retire that because it's an absolute mess.
Is that because just over iterations and it's learned things that it shouldn't learn? Like, how does it get to that state?
Just bad code. on my part. No, it's not doing too badly, but it's just kind of like, it's stuff that I wrote sort of like when I was kind of like learning more about the API and everything, and I want to kind of retire that. And I'm working on a new Zerg bot, which is going to involve a lot more kind of like learning features. And basically, I want it to, what the idea I have is to kind of like, similar to the way Michael's work was, trying to assess the opponent's army and tailor your own army to that. And then also have the kind of like learning involved in the micromanagement of units. So bringing the two together in that respect and saying, right, okay, you've got the army composition and the micromanagement, and then there might be some scripted stuff within the building placement, but we'll work through that. So it's going to be a lot better than my current bot. That's what I'm working on. So hopefully ladder domination for myself very soon.
So with SE2 AI though, is that like, do you said it is, I'm guessing it has two parts, one for bots to learn by playing other bots, and two to kind of like test the skill of like a bot, that whose bot is the best kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's all worked into one essentially. So as they learn, the elo will improve. It's like normal human players. You play your first few games and you're going to be pretty terrible, but as you go along and learn more, the elo of the bot will improve.
As I understand it, HJax has like a top bot. Is that still the case, or is that?
He's doing pretty well actually. I can tell you his elo at the moment. He's probably above me now.
Oh, they have ELO. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So
no MMR.
It's just the scheme I chose.
I know.
No, HJax has an elo of 1213 at the moment. My bot is sitting on 1196. So yeah, but that went downhill since I made some changes that didn't actually work out so well. But that's why I'm binning that bot very soon and going to make a new one.
Well, time to retire that bot. Yeah. Put him out to pasture.
Yeah, poor thing. He'll be there.
Stephen Brown, why don't you give us a little bit of a run through of you?
Yeah, well, I mean, you've obviously seen that I've written a lot of tutorials, and that's one of my goals, is to bring machine learning and StarCraft 2 down to people who maybe don't have a lot of experience or a lot of knowledge. In my day job, I work for a company that they have software that manages warehouses and logistics, so trucks driving around with stuff in them. And I'm in the process of trying to convince them that I can use StarCraft to simulate environments, to run some machine learning to try and improve the way that people run their warehouses, the way that people deliver, and that sort of stuff. So I'm hoping they believe my story that lets me play StarCraft 2 all day.
That would be really lit. And I guess it really does tie it. If a bot can learn the optimum way to beat somebody in StarCraft, it can learn the optimal way to like schedule trucks and logistics and in and out timings in terms of raw materials and other things like that.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that I could potentially build a map that has the layout of a warehouse, and I could say, go and put these things on shelves, which might mean a medevac picking up a Marine and taking it over and dropping it in a bunker or something. And, if it can work out how to do that optimally, then maybe that's something we can apply in a real warehouse where real people have to put real things on shelves.
Stephen, are you ever worried that if you develop your AI for StarCraft in the warehouse, you might drop a nuclear strike on the warehouse?
My AI is not that good yet.
It's like the best strategy is to nuke the warehouse. Yes,
exactly. Lots of ghosts running around everywhere for some reason.
Fair enough.
So we got this. We got the PySC2 tool set.
The layers.
Yeah. So why don't we like take a little peek at that, the audience, and I want you guys kind of like show us what we're looking at. And Tara, let's do it. Show us. And those of you guys in the chat, please feel free to throw us questions for these guys. I have a special section in my notes to make sure we ask these questions. Okay. All right, let's see. And you guys probably have to pull up the chat, but it's on like really slow.
It's only 15 seconds, so this gives you a better view.
All right, so we got what are we looking at? It was like layers of little dots. Is that like interpreting different things of StarCraft?
So at the bottom left, you got the minimap. The large area on the left is the main screen layer. So the minimap is normally 64 by 64 pixels. The screen layer is 84 by 84 pixels. And then over on the right hand side, you've kind of got each layer within that. So I think the first one might be terrain height. And then a few of those will be like friendly units, enemy units, neutral units, unit type, fog of war, visibility, and a few things like that.
Is that like how the AI interprets the world? Like, is that what we're looking at? Like, is this like the computer's like, this is everything it's interpreting at once?
Yeah, so like, on the mini-map, you have a 64 by 64 grid. And if you're looking at the, say, the enemy unit component of that, you'll see a true or false on any square where there's an enemy unit. And so the AI has to interpret that and go, it essentially has I think it's a 4096 bit of data that it goes, okay, well, given this 4096 things and some of them are zeros and some of them are ones, the best course of action might be to attack this square here.
Yeah. And so what do you
yeah, I mean, this was the part that like very early on struck me as the way that you have to break it down for something like this to see. And you guys had brought it up earlier that it's not, the Google approach to it is not directly interfacing with the program or anything. It's not like hacking it. It's literally, it's watching it and interpreting almost through its eyes what it's seeing. So like that's kind of this part.
Yeah, this feature layer thing was also I guess, a way for them to start developing their AI. The pixel layer that's just come out is, I guess, their ultimate goal. So that's looking at a screen rendered version like a human would. So they've kind of transitioned completely to that, from what I understand. And this is more for the rest of us who want to sort of play around and don't have the capability to interpret the visuals so much. Yeah.
So what's really cool about the feature layers is that us hobbyists, there's 19 different feature layers for minimap and the screen. And so for mini games such as like Move to Beacon, well, you don't need the creep feature layer in terrain height and stuff like that. So you can pick and choose what features you want to input into your bot to save memory, essentially. And so that's actually very helpful when it comes to one GPU system, So this is actually
you can also choose the resolution. I mean, the default resolution is 64 by 64 on the minimap, but some of my basic bots just see it as a simple grid. And so that's top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. So you can sort of change what your bot sees. And obviously, if you don't give it a lot of information, it's probably not going to learn as much detailed stuff that it needs to, but it might learn quite well and give you an indicator of, well, this is kind of working. Maybe I'll add some resolution and see if it does well with that.
Yeah. Are there certain things that are very finicky on that? Like I'm thinking of a basic thing like moving a zealot to block between two gateways or something. If it's on a too big resolution, it probably just goes stand in the middle of nowhere and think it's blocking.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's definitely a resolution issue with that. I've had problems with resolution with being able to place buildings in the right spot because it might hit another building and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, the more resolution you have, the better it's going to be for that really detailed action that you want to take. The other thing you can do is take actions in the detailed 64 by 64, or you can increase that number, but you can actually condense or compress the observation or what it sees back down to the quadrants.
Cool.
Now, I before we even got into this, before we stumble on SC2AI.net, I would watch, and I still watch, I think it's called
the Brood War one.
The Brood War one, yes, the Brood War one, SSCAIT, I think it's called.
Yeah,
SSCAIT, and their bots are really fun to watch. They kind of like stumble around a bit and do whatever they like, kind of thing, and some of them kill each other. Some of them don't.
Yeah, sometimes.
But how is it different for making a bot for Brood War versus making a bot for StarCraft 2?
It's very similar in a lot of respects. Like the API is different because we have more of a direct access to what's going on. Actually, that's been improved a lot within the BW API.
For SC2 or for Brood War?
No, for SC2 we have
Right.
it's more advanced, the API. The bots aren't quite there yet because Brood War API has been going for what,
Over a decade.
7? Long. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Wow, it's been going that long? Wow.
Yeah. I didn't, but yeah. So they've had a chance to build up a lot more infrastructure than we have. But there's been some really nice collaborations. We've got a lot of people. TCS Moo, who writes one of the best bots for SC Brood War API, has also adapted his bot for SC2 AI, and that's running on our ladder. So there's a lot of transition between the two, and we're hoping to ramp up pretty soon. But again, we're still pretty early on in development of what's happened. I mean, the API was only released kind of like, what, October last year? So we're still pretty early. We're still developing and learning exactly. Like I didn't really come along to the Brood War API a lot. I was just kind of like, my background actually before I was writing StarCraft bots was I was writing poker bots. So, you know, I just came along to it.
I think I've played some of them.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll let you have your money back. But yeah, so like I came along from that kind of like angle. So it's kind of like I see what they've done. It's really good, but we're not quite as far along as they have been, but we're getting there. And I think within the next 6 months or so, you're going to see some really exciting new bots coming out, including hopefully my new one. So
I think one of the other challenges with between, or one of the differences between the Brood War and the StarCraft 2, if you're doing something like DeepMind is with looking at the human visible version, the rendered version. In Brood War, they were sprites, so there were only so many permutations of an individual unit. So if you're just looking at the pixels on the screen, you could say, oh, this is, you could very quickly train it, oh, this is a probe or whatever it happens to be. But in StarCraft 2, you've got a 3D rendered version which can turn in all sorts of different directions, and that makes it a lot more complicated.
Wouldn't the Brood War version be better than to learn from in that regard?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier because you can go, well, there's a probe looks like this. There's, I don't know, 16 different versions or whatever it might be, and that's it. So it's a lot easier to work with.
And that resolution, I assume, is much more gridded, essentially, in Brood War.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I asked. Sorry.
So I tried to submit a bot to the student StarCraft tournament, but I forgot to include my source code. So Dave Churchill said no.
You know what? Actually, I think I saw that on the internet. I was looking it up. It was actually, it was noted. Yeah. It was noted, actually.
So that was unfortunate. I put a lot of work into that. Anyway, so a big thing.
You're the player.
So a big thing in the Brood War API tournaments is all the bots are pretty similar in skill, and every bot typically has a strategy in their bucket of strategies that would beat another strategy of another bot. So then it turns into a K-arm bandits problem. It's like a giant rock, paper, scissors match at the highest level of these ladders, saying, well, I tried this strategy 15 times, and he beat me 8 of those times. And that just comes down to they have so many scripted routines in that they basically are trying to select the best strategy, which is really interesting because if you think about it, that's what GSL is too and stuff. They say, well, I did Proxy Rax Reaper 5 games in a row and I beat Scarlet.
He sure did.
Yeah.
Should went up against innovation.
Yeah. And so it's essentially, obviously, the mechanics of these bots are at the GSL or ASL level, I guess, it's this Brood War. But it's still interesting how they're still incorporating that concept into the ladder itself, of how they're trying to adjust their strategy based on their previous results.
Isn't that like searching for the optimum strategy, though?
Yeah, basically.
Is there a risk, and given that some of the bots for SC2 are kind of on the lower end of skill level right now, that they would fall into almost a trap of a bronze player where they learn, if I make cloaked banshees and they just don't make detection, I win. And if they do, then I lose, but I'm winning more than I lose. So I think this is fine and I never change. Or how does it adapt to something like that where it's successful, but it sucks?
Again, this goes back to, like, at the moment, that's a very real danger. The problems I see is for the new bots that come on, we're going to increase the skill level, and that's going to push everyone else up. So while at the moment we're at quite a low level of skill, I think, again, it's going to very quickly increase as we're going along. And I think certainly within the next 6 months or so, I think we're going to see a lot more. I know that a lot more bots are going to be on there, and I think we're going to see a lot of increase in skill. But yes, at the moment, there's a very real danger that if people just see there's a tactic that works every time, like my bot cannon rushes a lot, and that seems to be successful. But as more bots come on, that's going to be...
is your bot name Printf?
No, it's not a Printf. Yeah.
Speaking of your...
Sorry, I was just going to speak to that. The thing that DeepMind has been doing, you would have seen with AlphaGo, one of the things they did is self-play. So they got the bot to play against itself, and that's how it was able to explore all sorts of different strategies and things that maybe a human wouldn't even do. And so they're actually, well, from what I understand, they're doing that with StarCraft 2 as well. So their bot plays against itself and improves, and so there is a chance that it can get stuck in these ruts where it performs certain strategies and that's all it knows how to counter. But they've got all these different permutations running at once. So ideally, it will continue to learn from itself and possibly learn strategies that nobody's ever come up with that are better than a human could do.
Right, that's what I'm hoping for. Actually, this is a great segue. Why don't we jump into a replay of one of the bots? Let's jump in it together and kind of talk while